So I've got a string here, and the problem I have is I'd like to be able to count the number of unique characters in this string. So I want to just give you some insight as to an algorithm that we could use to do this. All right. So one thing you might be tempted to do is, well, hey, let's make an array list or something like that, and we'll just loop through the string. And because we know an array list has an index of, and you go, oh, well, each time I see a character that's not in the array list already, we pop it onto the end, and then we try to return the length of the array list, or the size of the array list. But we actually don't need to create any duplicate data structures. We can do this with just a single loop through this string instead. So I'm going to write the indices under here. All right, so my string is length 8. I've got indices 0 through 7. And what I'm going to do instead is loop through it character by character, and I'm going to check to see if that character is in the remaining part of the string. So like, let's say when we're looking at A, right? When I'm looking at A, the next thing I do is I look at characters 1 through 7, and is A in characters 1 through 7? Nope. So it's not unique. Then I get to character B, and I grab characters 2 through 7, and that character B is not in there, so I found a unique character. And C is in the rest of the string, so it's not unique. And now when we get to this A, right, so the C was not in this, when we get to this A, we're going to grab characters 4 through 7, and so when we're looking this A, it is not in the remaining part of the string, so now we have that A flagged as unique. We compare this D to the rest of the string, and it's not unique. This D to the rest, and it is unique. And the E is not the C, and it is unique. And the C is this C. There's nothing after it, so we know that it's unique. All right. So you're essentially in your algorithm, right, where you're going to grab each letter, and we can do this with a substring. So it'd be str.substring. And we'll just say, whatever letter we're using for, whatever our index is, so it'll be like I, comma, I plus 1. And that'll get us a single character at position I. And then the rest of the string, right, whatever's after it, is going to be the str.substring. And we want to go not from I, but we want to go from I plus 1. And remember the substring, if you only pass in one argument, then it's just from that position to the end of the string. All right, so that's the algorithm. As you loop, we're going to just keep looping through doing that and checking to see if the letter is in the rest. And if it's not, we found a unique character. So you may be wondering one thing, and that is when I gets to this very last position here. All right, in this case, when I is 7, and we call the substring with I and I plus 1, or we try to call the substring with I plus 1 here, right? So that'll give us 8. So we'll end up with an 8 both here and here. And is there anything we need to do to protect ourselves from that? So, so the answer is no. Everything's going to work out, but what I want to do is just go over to the documentation for the Java string class and show you why. So when we're looking at the end here, right, just to confirm that we don't need to do anything special to make sure we, especially here when we put in a number that is larger, that this is an index of the string that doesn't exist. Like if we put in 8, there is no character at position 8, so it's supposed to go 8 from the end. Is that okay? And there's a temptation to maybe start writing some conditionals to take care of it. But if you Google the Java string class and you go down here to the method summary, and I'm going to find substring, and you see there's two. There's the one that has the begin index and then the begin and the end index. We can look, and we'll go to the throws part where it throws an exception, and it says it throws an exception if the begin index is negative or larger than the length of the string object. So when we get into here, right, the last index is 7, but the length is 8. And so apparently we're allowed to use a number up to 8. And what happens in this case is, right, it'll just return an empty string, okay, when you do that. And also when we look at the other substring, right, it says if the begin index is negative or the end index is larger than the length of the string object. So here we're also allowed to go up to the length, and that makes a little more sense because it's an up to but not including, but this is included. So this one, it will return an empty string, and that's allowed. So moral of the story here is, go to the docs before you start trying to invent code to solve a problem. It might already be solved for you. And that's something that I would memorize here, because just when you're on the AP exam and you look at the quick reference, right, and they give us the string functions and they tell you the arguments and what, they tell you what each thing returns, and that behavior of substrings that they give you does not tell you that, like, behavior, like the upper limit of that second argument here or the first argument here. So anyway, read the docs. All right, if you have any questions, let me know.